If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless NAS options, weighing 2 bay versus 4 bay, wondering if a Celeron processor really matters, and still can't decide which box actually earns its price tag, this review is here to settle that debate. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been looking at the Synology DiskStation DS423 Plus from the angle of a home office that needs reliable backup, a media library that multiple family members can stream, and a little bit of light virtualization for a home lab experiment. The hesitation most buyers feel isn't about the glossy marketing images, it's about the hidden costs of setup, the day-to-day friction of adding drives, and the risk of ending up with a machine that sits half-filled on a shelf because it didn't match their workflow. First, let's talk about what the DS423 Plus is really built for. Synology positions this model as a mid-range 2-bay NAS that can handle everything from simple file syncing to running Docker containers. The heart of the unit is an Intel Celeron J4125 class CPU clocked at 2 GHz, paired with 6 GB of DDR4 RAM that's soldered in. That combination isn't going to replace a dedicated media transcoding server, but it's more than enough for a household that needs to back up a few laptops, stream 1080p video to a couple of TVs, and occasionally spin up a small Nextcloud instance. The real value shows up when you look at how DSM, Synology's DiskStation Manager, streamlines those tasks. You get a web-based dashboard that feels more like a consumer app store than a traditional server console, which means you spend less time wrestling with command line nonsense and more time getting files where they need to be. Now, the practical side of getting the DS423 Plus up and running. The box arrives sealed, and, as the spec sheet warns, it comes without any hard drives or extra memory. That's a conscious decision by Synology. They want you to pick the exact drives that fit your budget and performance needs. For me, that meant buying a pair of 8TB WD Red Plus HDDs for bulk storage and slotting in the included 1TB M.2 NVMe SSD as a cache. The installation process is straightforward. You pop open the front panel, slide the drives into the trays, and screw them in. The real trick is configuring the SSD cache. If you're new to the concept, DSM walks you through it with a wizard that explains when the cache actually speeds things up, mainly for random read/write operations. In daily use, I noticed the cache shaving a few seconds off folder browsing when the library grew beyond 2 TB, but it didn't turn my 4K movie streams into instant play, which is exactly what the hardware is designed for. If you're the type who wants everything plug and play, the DS423 Plus does require a bit of initial thought. You need to decide on RAID level. Synology defaults to SHR Synology Hybrid RAID, which lets you mix drive sizes without losing redundancy, set up user permissions, and enable any extra services like Quick Connect for remote access. Those steps take about 20-30 minutes if you follow the guided setup, and the learning curve is gentler than many competing NAS brands because DSM's UI is built around plain English explanations rather than cryptic menus. Who should buy this unit? First, the home office professional who has a couple of laptops, maybe a desktop, and wants a single place to back up everything automatically. With Synology's built-in Hyper Backup, you can schedule incremental snapshots to an external drive or even a cloud bucket, and the process runs silently in the background. Second, the small family that shares a photo and video collection. The DS423 Plus can host a photo station or moments server, automatically organizing images by date, location, or facial recognition, and it streams to mobile devices without requiring a separate Plex server. Finally, the hobbyist who wants to dabble in Docker containers, you can spin up a Home Assistant instance or a lightweight Git server without overtaxing the CPU. On the flip side, skip this model if you need heavy transcoding for 4K streams, plan to run multiple virtual machines, or expect to grow beyond about 16 TB of raw storage without adding external expansion units. The 2-bay design caps you at whatever the largest pair of drives you can afford, and while you can attach USB-C or eSATA expansion, that adds complexity and cost. Also, if you're looking for a set-it-and-forget-it device that ships fully populated with drives, you'll need to budget extra time and money to buy and install the drives yourself. Synology's approach is flexible but not pre-baked. Let's break down the practical strengths that actually matter after the box lands on your desk. The first is reliability. Synology has a reputation for solid firmware updates, and the DS423 Plus receives DSM patches regularly, often addressing security vulnerabilities before they become a headline. In my month of testing, the system rebooted cleanly after each update, and no data loss was observed. Second, the network interface. Two 1GBE ports can be bonded for link aggregation, which gives you a modest bump in throughput if you have a gigabit capable switch that supports LACP.